Who's ready for spooky season? I know it's only August, but my mind is already on pumpkins and Halloween, so let's take a deep dive today into Metal Gear Solid's world of undead. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Luffy, and welcome to my channel. I talk video games and character analysis. Heads up, this video will have spoilers mainly for MGS2, MGS3, and MGS5, but nothing really major. Like fun little things that'd be fun to find out in the plot, but no major plot twists or anything. Also, I've launched a Patreon, so if you're looking for early access or even more MGS content, check it out. Today's video is a little different. I was reading an article on Kojima's reaction to the zombies in Metal Gear Survive where he said, well, for me, Metal Gear is espionage with political fiction, right? So because of that, there's no reason that zombies would show up. This is how I see it, you know? And I immediately thought about the puppet zombies in MGS5. Aren't those zombies? And if we're not counting them as zombies, Kojima has already put vampires and ghosts in his game, so why does the buck stop at zombies? A deleted user on Reddit explained that the main controversy between the zombies in MG Survive and the puppet soldiers in MGS5 is that the puppet soldiers, along with any other characters that could be classified as undead, all served a metaphorical purpose, whereas the zombies in MG Survive did not. They were just zombies. In MGS5, there are themes of a loss of agency, like how Venom Snake is stripped of his agency via Ocelot's hypnotherapy. The puppet soldiers are in alignment with that. I really love this. I'd never thought about the themes of loss of agency with MGS5 because I zoom in on the characters when thinking about MGS5, but zooming out and taking a look at these greater themes and how the puppet soldiers can fit into them is really fascinating. I did some digging on the other supernatural characters throughout MGS to see how well they actually fit the undead theme, and what I found was super interesting. Straight up, I don't know what this video is about. I just wanted to talk about some Metal Gear Solid silliness. Vamp. We're starting this list off strong with Vamp. Or are we? Does Vamp count as an undead? Technically, vampires are undead because they rise from their death to drink people's blood. They don't have a heartbeat. They're not living. But is Vamp a vampire? Well, no. Technically he isn't. He never really did the dying part of becoming a vampire. You see, Vamp was subjected to experimentation where he was injected with nanomachines that could heal him at breakneck speeds, saving him from seemingly fatal injuries. These same nanomachines also granted him superhuman abilities like super speed and agility. Vamp's nanomachines make him as unkillable, maybe even more unkillable, as a vampire. Vampires can only be killed a couple of different ways, by staking or with fire or the sun, but Vamp is even more unkillable than that. If you staked him in the heart, his nanomachines would bring him back after a short nap. What about his love for the taste of blood, you ask? Vamp gained his affinity for blood when he was caught up in a church bombing that left him and his family trapped beneath the rubble of the building. Unfortunately, Vamp's family didn't make it, but Vamp did, and as he waited for rescue, he drank the blood from his family to keep alive for the 2 days it took for him to be rescued. Wait, I'm sorry, 2 days? Vamp, there's no reason for you to be slurping up your family's blood. You would have been fine waiting the 2 days for rescue without it. All of that being said, does this mean Vamp is just some guy granted special powers by the nanomachines injected in him? What's the real difference between nanomachines helping you masquerade as a vampire versus a virus or a curse that transforms you into a real blood-sucking vampire? Vamp is the closest to being a vampire while still rooting his vampirism in science versus fantasy. He also really clearly wants to be a vampire, so why not give that to him? Vamp's a vampire. Liquid's arm. Sticking to Metal Gear Solid 2, we have Liquid's arm up next. I will never understand why Ocelot was like, hey, free arm, to Liquid's arm at the end of MGS1. I guess why not yoink it since he wasn't using it anymore? But wouldn't you rather just put your own arm back on? It was cut cleanly off by that ninja, just grab it and put it on ice until you can reattach it. I guess Liquid's arm was more enticing somehow. Either way, Liquid's ghost haunts his arm, making his arm undead. Or making Liquid a ghost? What should we focus on here? The ghost arm or the ghost Liquid? And I know things get re-explained in MGS4 as nanomachines and hypnosis, and cats do love to play as snakes, whatever that means. But at least for one game, Ocelot was possessed by Ghost Liquid. Liquid's arm didn't give Ocelot any sweet powers like Vamp has, unfortunately for him, but also thankfully for us. Can you imagine if Ocelot had Vamp's powers? He'd be even more insufferable and would absolutely get the zoomies. The coolest thing about being haunted by Liquid's ghost, other than the fact that Ocelot got a sweet accent out of it and a brother, is that it ties into Ocelot's backstory. If you didn't know, Ocelot's father, who's also on this list, the Sorrow, had spirit medium powers that let him communicate with the dead. So Liquid talking through Ocelot calls back to his lineage, which is really cool. The Sorrow. Speaking of the Sorrow, let's talk about him next. In MGS3, we're introduced to the Sorrow, the boss's lover, and the father of their son, Ocelot. As I said before, the Sorrow was a gifted spirit medium who could communicate with the spirits of soldiers who had passed away on the battlefield. This gave him an edge in battle, and they said he could predict the outcome of a battle just by talking to the spirits in the spirit world. Not only can the Sorrow communicate with ghosts, but he's a ghosty boy himself, and ghosts count as undead according to Google and Wikipedia, so he's going on this list. As a ghost, the Sorrow's gift allows him to communicate with those of the living. During MGS3, he uses his ability to give Naked Snake hints along his journey, such as the codec frequency to unlock his cell door when he's captured, and giving him a timer as to when the detonation of the building he's in is set to blow. Symbolically, and literally, the Sorrow haunted the boss. When he's not doing Naked Snake a solid, he's hanging around her. It's sad to think that the Sorrow loved the boss so much that even in death, he couldn't help but linger and wait for the moment she could join him. Volgin. If at the end of MGS3 you told me, hey, did you know Volgin comes back as a raging ball of fire determined to burn Big Boss alive? Honestly, I probably would have believed you because this is MGS and anything is possible in MGS. But let's be real. Volgin's return was out of left field. He was struck by lightning, then burst into flames, and was shot up by his own ammo when that ammo overheated in the fire. How did he survive? Volgin's rage against his demise at Naked Snake and Eva's hands kept him alive, though he pointed all that rage at Naked Snake and totally forgot about Eva, which is a lot of rage. Makes me want to see a conversation go down between Volgin and the Fury. Regardless of the how, he did, which means he probably doesn't belong on this list any more than Vamp does. We're counting him anyways though, because how much more supernatural can you get than being a man on fire, walking around like he's not on fire? Before becoming the Human Torch, Volgin could produce and wield electricity from his body. This doesn't make him undead though. Quiet. Quiet was an assassin with XOF sent to kill BB in the Cyprus hospital he was supposedly recovering in. Unfortunately for her, her mission went up in flames, literally, as she was doused with medical-grade ethanol and set ablaze. Lucky for her though, maybe, she was recovered and saved through a parasite treatment. Quiet had sustained serious injuries to most, if not all, of her body, though she was infected with a mutant strain of the one that covers parasites to repair most of the physical damage. They also granted her superhuman abilities like speed, perception, durability, longevity, phasing, and invisibility. The parasites also made it so she breathed through her skin and could photosynthesize. Is this enough to label Quiet as undead though? Without the help of the parasites, she definitely would have died, but does this qualify her as undead? I don't think so. The parasites are a parasite, meaning they need a living host to do their thing. If she was dead, they couldn't have brought her back to life. They could only save the life she already had. So Quiet's disqualified from this list. MGS5 Puppet Soldiers. What are they? The closest thing to a zombie we're going to get. Enemy soldiers that were close to the parasite unit and breathed in their disgusting parasite sweat would be transformed into puppet soldiers. See, I told you their sweat was nasty. Devoid of high intelligence, the puppet soldiers would attack Venom whenever he was near enough to be hit by a melee attack, which both made these soldiers way less of a threat than regular enemy soldiers with guns and way more terrifying and yucky. These foot soldiers were meant to overwhelm Venom with their numbers and distract him from the parasite unit attacking him. Puppet soldiers boast a zombie-like durability and barely notice when you hit or shoot them anywhere but their head. Like zombies, shooting the head takes them down. Once the parasite unit left, the puppet soldiers didn't revert to their regular soldier self. Their sanity had been broken down by their puppet state, and so would continue to wander around zombie-like or would die. My sanity would have broken down being a puppet soldier. If I'm ever a zombie, don't try to cure me. It's too late for me. I don't want to go back to being a human knowing I've eaten people. Not like the poor saps in Resident Evil Vendetta. Alright, after that roundup, am I missing any undead weirdos? Who else do you consider to be a part of the living undead in MGS? Do you think the supernatural in MGS plays into its greater themes? Or do you think Kojima and his production team were just having a bit of fun including these mystical characters? Maybe a little column A, a little column B? Personally, I really love when MGS leans into the ridiculous, so I love when we get things like characters being possessed by ghost arms and vampires pirouetting on screen. I wish we got even more of that as the series went on, but by MGS4 and MGS5, things seem to have been tapered down. Could you imagine dealing with vampires in MGS5? I think Kaz's head would have exploded. He can barely handle Quiet as it is. Thank you so much for making it to the end of my video. Please like, subscribe, turn notifications on, it really helps me out. Check out my Patreon if you need more MGS content, or join us in Discord, we're always talking about MGS. More importantly than all that though, please take care of yourself, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Thank you.